My grandfather's military medals were fake. He'd been buying them at pawn shops for 40 years. When Grandpa Walt died at 87, the whole town showed up for his funeral. He'd been a fixture in our community for decades. The veteran who marched in every Memorial Day parade, who spoke at schools about his service in Vietnam, who wore his dress uniform to every patriotic event. His medals gleamed on his chest: Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Silver Star, 2 tours of duty, he'd told us. A hero. I was tasked with organizing his military honor ceremony. As his oldest grandchild, it felt right. I called the VA to coordinate the honor guard and rifle salute. The woman on the phone was polite but firm. "I'm sorry, but we don't have any record of a Walter Morrison serving in Vietnam. That's impossible. He has all his medals, all his stories." Let me check again. Keyboard clicking. A long pause. "We do have a Walter Morrison in our system. He was stationed at Fort Bragg from 1967 to 1969, honorably discharged, but he never deployed overseas. He worked in supply logistics." The room tilted. There must be a mistake. I'm looking at his DD-214 right now. Would you like me to send you a copy? I found the medals in his study, displayed in a custom shadow box he'd had made. 15 medals total. I photographed each one and sent them to my friend Jackson, who'd done 3 tours in Afghanistan and knew military decorations inside and out. His response came within an hour. "Half of these didn't exist during Vietnam. The campaign ribbons are wrong. The Purple Heart looks off. The enamel color is wrong. Where did he get these?" I started going through Grandpa Walt's files, boxes of papers in his closet, old bank statements, and there, tucked in a folder marked miscellaneous, I found them. Receipts from pawn shops, army surplus stores, online auction sites, 40 years of purchases, $5 here, $20 there, sometimes 50 for the better medals. The earliest receipt was from 1983. A Bronze Star purchased at Murphy's Pawn in Riverside for $15. I sat on his bedroom floor surrounded by evidence that the man I'd idolized had been living a lie for 4 decades. My mom found me there an hour later. I showed her everything. She cried, then got angry, then cried again. "He always felt ashamed," she said finally, "about not going to Vietnam. His 2 brothers went. His best friend died there. Walt stayed stateside and felt like a coward for the rest of his life. So he bought a whole fake identity? I think he started small, maybe 1 medal. Then people thanked him for his service and he couldn't take it back. So he bought another, and another, until the lie was bigger than he could escape. We found his real DD-214 in the same box. Honorable discharge. 2 years of service, supply logistics, nothing shameful about it, nothing cowardly, just not the heroic narrative he'd needed to feel worthy. The funeral was the hardest thing I'd ever done. We told the funeral home to cancel the military honors. My uncle demanded to know why. I showed him the receipts. He went pale, then left without speaking. We buried Grandpa Walt with a simple service. No rifle salute, no folded flag. Some people in town whispered, others defended him even after the truth came out. The VFW post quietly removed his photo from their wall of honor. My grandmother had died 5 years earlier. I was grateful she never knew. Or maybe she had known all along and loved him anyway. I kept one thing from his collection. Not a medal. Those we donated to a military museum's collection of stolen valor examples. I kept a photo I found behind his Purple Heart, black and white. Young Walt in his uniform at Fort Bragg, maybe 20 years old, grinning at the camera. Before the shame, before the lies. Just a kid who served his country in the way he was asked to serve. That photo sits on my desk now. My daughter asks about it sometimes. "That's your great-grandpa," I tell her. "He made mistakes, big ones, but he also taught me that sometimes people lie because they're hurting, not because they're bad." She's too young to understand the complexity. Someday I'll tell her the full story. About how a man can be both a liar and a loving grandfather. How shame can drive someone to build an elaborate false identity. How heroism comes in many forms, and supply logistics during wartime matters too, even if it doesn't come with medals. The town still argues about Grandpa Walt. Some people can't forgive him. Others remember the kind man who helped at food drives, who fixed neighbors' fences for free, who showed up for every little league game his grandchildren played. I've learned to hold both truths at once. He was a fraud who bought fake medals for 40 years. He was also my grandfather who taught me to fish and made terrible pancakes and told me I could be anything I wanted to be. Sometimes the people we love disappoint us in ways we never imagined. Sometimes stolen valor is born from a wound that never healed. Sometimes the most important thing isn't the medals on someone's chest, but whether they loved you well in the small, quiet moments that don't get parades.